So, let's talk about Graves. This character is in every game right now. Well, not literally, but her pick rate is still one of the highest in the roster as of the February 13th patch. And when a character shows up that often, it usually means they're doing something either very right for the game or something very wrong. At first glance at the Deadlock hero win rates, you'll notice Graves hovering near the top. Now, thank goodness this is only in the low ranks. Oh boy. I've been seeing a lot of high rank players bash her mobility, range, and early game, but honestly the stats just don't reflect that. I understand that stats aren't everything, and we may need to give the meta time to figure itself out. I mean, if stats were the main problem, then I should be complaining about 7, who currently dominates every rank statistically. But I actually think that 7 is pretty balanced at the moment. So then, why am I here talking about Graves? The problem lies not in her win rate or pick rate, but in her fundamental design flaws. To highlight these flaws, I want to cover all 3 sections of the game, the early, mid, and late game, and kind of explain examples to show why this is the case. Let's start off with the laning phase. All 3 of her abilities are pretty weak in the beginning. Her skulls are more of an annoyance than actually damage dealing. Her wall was shortened, and so it's not really as impressive as it was before. And her passive 3 really doesn't apply because her gun has such short range. However, some major problems start to arise when we start looking at her ultimate. The sheer amount of pressure that this puts on the lane is absurd. The enemy laners, depending on the matchup, will have to pour a lot of their abilities and resources into defending against this ultimate, and because of this constant pressure and the lack of resources, the enemy laners will probably start making mistakes. And it's in these moments where Graves' other abilities actually become, well, valuable. This compounding pressure is really what makes her ult oppressive. Now, there are 2 suggested solutions to dealing with her ult, none of which are actually a solution. Some players may think that you can out-farm Graves because you're going to be destroying her skulls and minions and getting extra money, so you should just hang back in lane and just out-farm her, right? But with this extra time where they're forced on the defense, Graves can just take their boxes, take their jungle, and whatever resources she wants. And in this case, the Graves will always out-farm you. Her skulls and minions just aren't worth enough for the time you'll be spending shooting at them. So then you may ask, what's preventing me from walking up and destroying her ultimate if she's out farming boxes? Well, outside of the 1 or 2 minions you'll most likely tank while beating her grave, good Graves players will normally place this close to their tower so that you can't defend against the waves of minions at the same time that you pursue destroying the grave. Good Graves players will always force you to make this choice. The worst part about this is there's not really an efficient counter. Now, let's move to the mid game. At this stage of the game, Graves is a pressure machine, and her mid gameplay looks a little something like this. Now, it's not as simple as this, but the main problem that I have is that it almost always requires an immediate response from the enemy team. And anytime you can drag 1 or more players to come deal with you as a problem, you are creating value for your team. For example, here I'm able to drag half of the enemy team to come deal with my ultimate. Even if I was able to drag 1 or 2 people over to come deal with me, this is still valuable because now I'm wasting their time. I can also leave and go gank in other lanes, which is what I eventually end up doing. But I wanted to showcase this to show the pressure she can create. Let's pivot to the late game. Now that most of the walkers and guardians have been destroyed, your job is now lane control. You can split push across the map without even having people in that lane. Not only does the enemy team have to respond to this lane pressure, but now they are denied information across the map, which leads back to that compounding effect I was talking about. But yeah, this kind of covers Graves across all 3 phases of the game. Now that we have covered most of her design problems across different phases in the game, mostly by showing her strengths and playstyle, I want to cover a more general problem she has, her consistency. She's extremely strong in all ranks. Graves has a crazy low skill floor, and surprisingly, a crazy low skill ceiling as well, which means anyone can pick her up and get value with almost no effort. When a character is this easy and this effective, of course the win rates are going to be inflated. Low execution, high reward mechanics like this are usually unhealthy for a competitive game's long-term balance. I'm not saying Deadlock shouldn't have beginner-friendly characters, but their utility should be lower to match that ease of use. Take Moira from Overwatch, for example. Her left click does healing, and her right click is an auto-aim damage dealer. And while she outperforms other supports in terms of raw healing or raw damage, she just doesn't have the utility that other supports provide. So she ends up being really strong in low ranks and a great beginner-friendly character, but she's pretty weak in high ranks. I think this is what the Deadlock devs should aim with for Graves. A character that's beginner-friendly and has a low skill floor, but isn't oppressive. At her current place, I think Graves is pretty unhealthy for the game. I think easy solutions to fix this character would be making her ultimate spawn less minions, or you should get more money for dealing with them. Overall, I'm really excited to see what the Deadlock devs will do surrounding her, and just want this character to find a healthy place in the meta. If you liked the video, consider subscribing. I'm just getting started on YouTube, and it helps me a lot. Also, let me know what you think about Graves in the comments, and who I should analyze next for a video. Anyways, if you made it this far, thanks for staying until the end, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Death is coming!